What's that? You want to grow wasabi? Impossible. Can't be done, mate. Now, wasabi is native to Japan. It's a part of the brassica family, so it's related to the mustards, the cabbages and the kales. But it has very, very specific growing requirements. Now, sometimes I get the feeling that the complexity of growing wasabi is slightly overrated. I've grown wasabi now for 4 years, and yes, there has been times I've lost the crops. But overall, as long as you give them some fundamental things, they're going to grow fine. A lot of this wasabi you'll buy in a shop isn't actually real wasabi. It's simply horseradish with colourings. The wasabi plant itself can take up to 2 years to mature, to get that root. And, you know, to really get the full whack of your wasabi, you've got to grate that wasabi root. And after 5 minutes, you've got it at its strongest and most flavoursome. And after 20 minutes, the heat starts to die down. So it's very, very hard to commercially stock real wasabi in shops. And that's why it's a real speciality in the garden, and it's well worth having a go growing. Now, there's 2 main ways of growing wasabi. The Japanese distinguish the two. The one way, the most valued way, is to grow it in riverbeds with oxygenated mineral water. And that actually apparently gives a better quality of rhizomous root. That's the best one, the most expensive one. Now, you can grow it in soil. If there is an actual huge amount of difference between the one that grows in the soil and the one that grows in the oxygenated water, who knows? I've tried to do the reading on this. They say it's not as good, but I got a suspicion there's not much in it. But who knows? I grow them in soil. And, you know, I've had quite a lot of success growing them in soil. But what I'm going to do today is show you a little system of growing them in a pot. Now, I've grown it with some success in this system. This is just an idea for you if you want a happy medium. Not everyone's got an oxygenated spring going through their garden. So this is a way of growing it in soil with some similarities to the natural way, because they actually grow in the mountain streams of Japan. Now, for this reason, this is why they say do not put wasabi in direct sunlight. But what I've found is it does like a little bit of sunlight. I mean, you know, I've had ones and put them in complete shade and they haven't done badly. But then ones that get about 30% sunlight a day, in the morning or in the evening, actually them plants go a bit stronger than the ones that are in complete shade. So you're probably looking at a dabbled shade. You know, again, replicate nature. If nature does it, then 9 times out of 10, that's the way forward. I also saw a video where a guy was growing this under apple trees, and that seems to be growing very well there. But again, I don't know on the specifics of how well the roots grow in that oxygenated shingle bed system against sort of compost based systems, well drained systems. I just don't know. You know, apparently it's superior, but who knows. Now, when I first saw wasabi plant, when I first looked at it, and what I always try and do is I have a look at plants, have a look at what their habits are, what they look like, what other things that grow well in certain situations that look like them, and it hit me that this looked a little bit to me like a watercress family, and it is related to watercress. And it grows very similar in similar conditions to watercress. And as if any of you have grown watercress, you'll know if you get the situations right, it can grow very, very robustly. And that's something I've got sorted out here at the minute. So really, what you've got to remember is dabbled sunlight, bright light, but not direct sunlight. 30% sunlight, moisture retentive soil, like a rich soil, a nutrient rich soil. The slugs absolutely love them. The slugs, I tell you what, you thought slugs like hostas, they will leave your hostas alone and they will go for the wasabi. They love wasabi leaves. And I've got to say, the leaves themselves are a delicacy of their own. So in terms of a self-sufficiency and sustainable point of view, growing these guys, it makes sense because every part of them are edible. They do like the humidity. They like humid conditions, so moisture retentive sort of environment. I actually don't think that where I am is that far different from where they naturally occur in Japan. You know, up in the hills, it's very moist. It rains a lot in the UK. It never gets excruciatingly hot, and it never gets completely freezing -10. Well, it can get to -10, but it's quite rare. So, you know, that's the sort of range that it should be happy. And I've had some success. They've survived out here in winter, no problem. Great thing about wasabi is once you get it going and it starts to form a clump, a rhizomous clump, it'll have loads of little plantlets. And what you can do is you can dig up your plant after a year or 2 years, dig out all of the little side shoots and start to separate them. And then what you can do is you can pop them on. And you can propagate them on in pots and grow them so they're robust. And you know, you can experiment it with different parts of the garden. You can give them to friends, or you can just generally divide up your stock. Because, you know, wasabi, it's not just about having that root. I actually like the edible leaves. I think they're a great salad crop. In fact, I would say that I probably grow them more for the leaves than the root. So that's why I love wasabi. Anything that can grow in part to full shade and gives you a leaf crop, you know, fundamentally is a very, very good thing in my opinion. And the wasabi itself has antibacterial qualities. In fact, in Japan, as years gone by, they didn't actually really use it for the flavour originally. It was for the antibacterial properties on the raw fish. And it's just so evolved that it has become a part of the palate of sushi. So very, very interesting plant. I would recommend you give it a go. You might just surprise yourself with the results. I'm going to show you how I plant my wasabi in this pot. Now what you need to do is buy yourself a little plantlet. Now I'm lucky here because I've propagated quite a lot of this stuff now. So I cut off a little plantlet. Just to give you an idea, just look at the roots and the little bits. I mean, I could probably, if I wanted to, pull this into another couple more little plants. But as you can see, I've sawn it off there. That's quite a substantial little wasabi plant. I'm going to be planting it in here. So the first thing you've got to do is get yourself a pot. Now, I like a long pot. As I say, I like 3 inches of gravel and then drill your holes. So you've got like a little pooling system at the bottom here. You know, you've got your pipe. Get your pipe that will fit to the bottom of your pot. And then you plop that in down the side into your shingle. Your rocks and everything. And then as you water it, it'll oxygenate it. You just got to stick the hose in it until it fills right to the top and over spills. And then what you'll notice is little jets of water coming out the bottom. And that's the sort of system I've used. But you don't have to do that. I mean, you can actually just grow it in the soil. You might be lucky, you know. This is like a good little halfway house, little patio way I use growing wasabi. So I'll just do that now then. Just fill up your pot with some gravel. Try and imitate its natural situation as much as possible. Compost would help if you put the pipe in as well. There you go. Don't forget to put your pipe in, like I just did. Fill her up to the top. What you want to do as well is try and not fill it right to the top. You want a little bit of a pooling system here. Don't forget the soil will settle anyway a little bit. So just sort of ease her into the surface like that. And what you can do is you can get some gravel. And what this does, you can get some pebbles. And just submerge that rhizome, that top rhizome. And what that does is that encourages the shoot to grow up and resist and get a bit of a longer stalk to it. And that's the rhizome that you're after, really. I mean, technically it's not really a rhizome, it's more of a stem that grows up. But I saw a guy who did it this way and I was very impressed with his results. So what we're doing is we're sort of doing a halfway house between growing it in a pot and growing it in its natural condition. So we're just trying to replicate its Japanese riverbed as much as possible. give that a pat down, and there you go. I think that that is not a bad little system. Now it's like a riverbed in the mountains of Japan. Hey? Right, so this is the wasabi plant after a couple of months. You can see it's growing quite well. Keep getting steamed up in here, and that's another thing you're going to need. You're going to need loads and loads of humidity to grow this stuff well. But look at that. That's growing pretty strong. It's April now, so, you know, the coldest months. It's in the greenhouse here. Doing really well. Just look at the size of that bad boy.